Ready? Welcome to Pipesounds Christmas Concert, presented on the Harrah Symphonic organ from the sanctuary of Forrest Burdette United Methodist Church in Hurricane, West Virginia. This is the 18th year for this concert series, and the first virtual one due to the COVID-19 precautions. Today's concert is Pipesounds' gift to church members, our community, and a much broader virtual audience. I am David Peters, the recently elected chairperson of the board for the Pipesound organ series. We are glad to have you share in this Christmas concert. Annually, our local Putnam County Bank has been Pipesound's invaluable financial sponsor, and we're truly grateful for their generous spirit in this way, and in the other many ways they support our community and Putnam County. The Harrah Symphonic organ was designed, mostly handcrafted, and installed between the years 2000 and 2003. It is one of the largest and most highly acclaimed combination pipe digital organs in the United States, with 2,600 pipes carrying 20,000 digital pipe notes, 148 speakers, 10,400 watts of power, and numerous computers. Its console, with 6 keyboards and over 450 draw knobs, is one of the largest in the world. The church's United Methodist Women raised more than $250,000 for crafting this organ, including sanctuary renovations to accommodate it. Alan Harrah gave major gifts several years of his life to a project he said would have cost close to $1 million were it not for lots of donated labor and expertise. This combination pipe digital organ is an example of German, French, English, and American schools of organ building in concert together. Today I'm announcing the opportunity to contribute to an ongoing repair and maintenance of the Harrah Symphonic organ with memory contributions in memory of Alan Harrah, Rusty Raines, and Don Gatewood. Today's concert is the first concert without all 3 of these persons present. Alan Harrah grew up in Charleston, West Virginia, and retired to our community over 25 years ago. And Alan was the one who designed and helped build and install the organ over 3 years. He spent most of his life in the music business and was president of the Rogers Organ Company in Oregon during his career. His lifetime was primarily spent in building and constructing organs and consulting on a number of major organ installations in the United States, Europe, and Asia. Now, Rusty Raines was one of the 3 musketeers, as they called themselves. These 3 men of the church, including Jerry Lilly and Chuck McCain, volunteered their time, including building skills, in retrofitting the sanctuary and installing this amazing musical instrument. And you may recall, Rusty was a greeter at all of our concerts. Don Gatewood was recently chairperson of Pipesound's board, and Don greeted and introduced our concerts to our audiences for many years. We are so grateful for these 3 pivotal persons in a dream that came true through their efforts in this symphonic organ, which you will witness in this Christmas concert. Please consider a gift in memory of Alan, Rusty, or Don for our permanent Pipesounds organ maintenance fund. Send your contributions, including this memorial, to Forrest Burdette, 2848 Putnam Avenue, Hurricane, West Virginia, 25526. Now, over the years, this organ series has brought nationally acclaimed organists to perform a variety of programs: classical, pops, seasonal, and even silent movies. Now, today's guest artist is Rodney Barbour. Born and raised in nearby Huntington, West Virginia, he graduated from Marshall University and the College Conservatory of Music in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Rodney is the former organist after 11 years for the Cincinnati Reds. Currently, he's serving Crestview Presbyterian Church in West Chester, Ohio, for the past 15 years. This will be Rodney's 15th program out of over 80 of our concerts that Rodney has performed on the Harrah Symphonic organ since 2008. Rodney, we're delighted to have you with us. Merry Christmas to all. Now, let's go. Caroling, caroling.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Rodney Barbour, and I bring you glad tidings of great joy. And we'll begin our program today with Joy to the World, an amazing Christmas carol based on Psalm 96. Here are a couple of words from that. Let the heavens rejoice, and let the earth be glad. Let the sea resound and all that is within it. Let the fields be jubilant, everything in them, and let the trees of the forest sing for joy. On the organ, such as this, there are four major families of tone. There are principals, which you can see a lot of those. Those are the ah sounds of the organ, the big wide sounds we use for hymns. Strings are the thin, quiet pipes, and most of those are inside the chambers, so you can't see them. They're kind of an sound, a beautiful, quiet, meditative, majestic sound. Reeds are the fire of the organ. They include clarinets and oboes, trumpets, sounds like that. And the fourth family is what we're going to hear right now, the flute family, the sounds of the organ. Much like the orchestral flute that you see or hear, these are very similar. And they're in all different pitches, which we're going to hear. And on each one of the keyboards of the organ, we have different kinds. So this hymn is called, or Christmas carol is called, Lo, a Rose Ere Blooming. It's a prophecy carol. And a reference could be Isaiah 35, verse 2. It will bloom abundantly and rejoice with joy. There's that joy again, and singing. The glory of Lebanon will be given it, the splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord, the splendor of our God. Very simple, beautiful carol, Lo, a Rose. Like to continue with another prophecy carol, O come, Emmanuel. And I'm going to combine it with a second carol, if you would, Good Christian Friends Rejoice. The chorus of the first one says, Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel will come. And this rejoicing is carried over into the second carol we'll hear, because it says, "Rejoice because Christ is born this day." An interesting thing about the organ, all those wonderful numbers that David quoted to us earlier, there's another number that I'll add: 1,200 orchestral voices through a MIDI sound module, which is attached to the organ. So we're going to hear the contrast at the beginning of just the pipes from this pipe organ with then the orchestral and digital sounds. You'll hear it back and forth. One of the great carols to sing at Christmas time is the very familiar "O Come, All Ye Faithful." And the thing I think that's really inviting and welcoming about that is the very fact that we are inviting others to come with us, to come and see so then we can go and tell. This is an arrangement by Alban Whitworth, who is a professor of music at the United Methodist Seminary down in Wilmore, Kentucky, so he's close by. And it's a very straightforward arrangement, just showing, again, different families of tone on the organ. And if you are at home, safe, you can sing it. Here we go. Our carol said, "Oh, come, all ye faithful, come ye to Bethlehem." And that's where we're going right now, to the little town of Bethlehem. This is a beautiful, quiet carol, kind of a, not really a lullaby, but a just quiet meditative piece. I can see this being played in Bethlehem around the manger scene as the guests were coming to visit. And this arrangement is going to use a lot of the orchestral sounds available on this organ, and I'm going to combine them with the digital sounds of the organ, the strings, the flutes, and such, to create just a beautiful, lush, relaxing atmosphere. Come with me to Bethlehem. we still have people going to Bethlehem, and in this next carol, it's Jeanette and Isabella. This is a French carol, and these are two fictional characters that are very anxious to get people to the manger to see what has happened in this stable. And so they are running, and they're calling out to people, come join us, because beautiful is the mother, beautiful is the child. Their running is depicted in the pedals, so I know our camera person is going to get a nice pedal shot on this, and you will see this. Bring a torch, Jeanette, Isabella. I usually tell people when there's a good pedal part like that, that there's a technique in playing piano or organ that taking a chord with your fingers and playing it up and down using just the notes of the chord, that's called an arpeggio. What you just saw me doing in my feet, that's called the Tootsie Roll. Okay, moving right along. We're going to take a carol from Italy this time called Gesù Bambino. And the composer, Pietro Ion, borrowed just the chorus from "O Come All Ye Faithful," "O Come Let Us Adore Him." And so there's this beautiful melody at the beginning, and then when you hear "O Come Let Us Adore Him," it's going to be played on choral voices. And these are actually voices that have been recorded from a choir singing the word "ah." And a digital recorder listened to that, analyzed the waveforms of those human voices, and stored them on computer chips. So when I play a note on the organ, it accesses the computer chip of the pitch that I want. So you'll actually be hearing digital reproductions of human voices along with the bells and the beautiful lush string sounds and French horns in this case. This is Jesu Bambino. We're going to travel from Italy over to Spain for this next carol in our caroling program. This is Fum, Fum, Fum. And it's quite fumthing if, if you really want to know. What it does is the carol, if you read the verses, tell the story of Christmas. So you have the shepherds, you have the angels coming, you have the Christ child at the manger scene. So you have those verses. And what I understand, the fum, fum, fum part is like a little drum sound in the middle of it. This is going to be highly orchestral arrangement. So you're going to hear pizzicato strings, not just bowed strings, beautiful flutes, an oboe or two, a harpsichord, who knows what. Maybe you could count the sounds as I'm playing. Thumb, thumb, thumb. People ask me sometimes, you heard the cymbal there, if it is hard as an organist who is playing keyboards and all these organ sounds to play instrumental music. And I say, well, not with the drums, you just take a crash course. But actually, I have a little advantage because I was a trombone major at Marshall University and spent a lot of time sitting in orchestras counting rests, waiting to do ta-ta-ta on the trombone while I was listening to the oboe players and the flute players. So it just seems to fall into place about some of these arrangements that I like to do, combining the orchestral sounds with the pipe organ sounds. We're going to do an organ piece now that's based on the carol, What Child Is This? And this is arranged by the amazing American organist of last century, Richard Purvis. And Purvis was in the West Coast musicians, and he just had amazing orchestral arrangements. And what I mean by that is it didn't use just the baroque, sharp, harsh sounds of the organ, but used beautiful American orchestral sounds like clarinets and clarabellas and names, if you were an organist, you would recognize. But these are sounds that have kind of fallen out of favor these days, and I love this organ because it has many of those sounds in it. So what child is this? And the carol, of course, answers the question, this is Christ the King. Here's Purvis's arrangement of What Child Is This, or Greensleeves. There's a genre of Christmas organ music that exists only for the organ and not in any other mediums, I believe. And it's called the Noel. And there were famous French organists in the Baroque period, the 18th century. Louis-Claude Dacan was one of those organists. And the French organs, and that's one thing about organ music, it is so different depending on what century and what country you're in as to what the organ sounds like. So we need to match the sound of the music that we play today to the sounds of the organ from when the music was composed for the music to be most successful. So anyway, these early French organs had sounds like cornets, crumhorns, big bright trumpets, ensemble sounds called grand jeu, which are mutation sounds. And these are all organ terms that you don't really need to know. But what you will hear now are these kind of sounds. On a French carol, Angels We Have Heard on High, the American arranger David Lowe has taken this carol and set it in this old French style. So listen to how different the organ sounds. You'll only be hearing pipe organ sounds in this arrangement. We'll move move to another French carol. This one is called Il est né, Le Divin Enfant, or He is Born. And Alban Whitworth, again, has arranged this carol. And I love this because, again, it's going to move between, this time, tuned percussion instruments, which are available on this organ. These are like xylophones, harps, and those kind of instruments, chimes as well. And then to some orchestral sounds. The oboe and bagpipe are mentioned in the carol, so certainly we're going to use those. And then we end with the sound of the full pipe organ. He is born. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our carols that we've had this evening, and I want to kind of change sections just a little bit. And there are other beautiful seasonal songs which just sound amazing on this Harrah Symphonic organ. So let's hear some of those right now, beginning with We Need a Little Christmas. One little trick for those of you who are not organists, this organ has a feature called second touch. And if you had noticed the accents I was putting in this left hand, I can hold this down, but if I punch it, it brings in those reed sounds from another keyboard. It's called second touch, so you can, with the pressure of your hands, even get more and different tones on this amazing Harrah Symphonic organ. Hey, it's time to deck the halls. Well, it's time to do something just a little different now. One of my favorite shows growing up was called Hee Haw, and I'll bet many of you have watched that. And they did a segment in there called Pickin' and Grinnin', where they would kind of like tell a little pun or something like that and play a song. So I thought Jingle Bells might be just the perfect sound to do. Let us see what this sounds like. What do you do when Santa Claus claps his hands at a concert? What's that called? Santa Claus. No? Okay. Well, did you know that last Friday, yesterday, Santa brought 22 reindeer over to Walmart because his purchase he thought was going to be $20, but it was in case it was more, he brought extra dough. What do Mexican sheep, how do they say Merry Christmas? Feliz Navidad. And how do Chihuahuas say Merry Christmas? Feliz Navidad. Do you know what Adam said on December the 24th? It's Christmas Eve. Do you know how good King Wenceslas likes his pizza? Deep pan, crisp, and even. And what does a grumpy sheep say at Christmas? Bah, humbug. Knock, knock. Who's there? Olive. Olive who? Olive the other reindeer. Knock, knock. Who's there? Dexter. Dexter who? Dexter halls with boughs of holly. Did you hear that Rudolph got a bad report card? Because he went down in his story. What did Mrs. Claus say to Santa when he asked her about the weather? It's going to rain, dear. Did any of you ever get a dog for Christmas? And I promise this is the last one of these. I did one Christmas. It was the cutest little dog, and we named it Stay. And we would go, come here, stay, come here, stay. It was the most confused dog that you would ever have in your life. Do you know what you get if you combine a pointer and an Irish setter? A poinsettia, a Christmas dog. And how about a pointer, a Great Pyrenees and a dachshund? That would be the paradox, a very puzzling dog. And the last one, a terrier and a bulldog. That would be a dog that makes lots of mistakes. The Christmas song, chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Well, as David said in the introduction, this is the 15th pleasure and joy I've had of being able to share some songs with you on this instrument. And the first time I came, you can imagine, from little 2 manual organs and 3 manual organs to all of this, I was totally petrified. And Don Gatewood was one of the first that met me here, and I was anxious to get right to the organ. And he insisted that I meet the staff and meet everyone, which in looking back, I really appreciated his hospitality and getting to know me. And he insisted that I go to lunch. And I believe Rusty was there, Alan was there, the pastor at that time was here. And we just had a wonderful conversation, and I got to know everyone. And throughout the 15 years, I've gotten to know many of you and appreciate your support of this series and hope that you will continue to do so as David invited you to at the beginning. But I do, as David said, miss the three people who aren't here this year, especially Don and Rusty and Alan. They mean so much and have given this church and this community a wonderful gift, along with all the others on the Pipesound board and all the others who helped and supported this amazing project. It truly is one of a kind. These last two songs are in memory of them.